don't be intimidated by it. It's easy to be intimidated whenever your image of a programmer is in a dark room with lines of code in front. But if you have a bit of an analytical way of thinking, it's really not. You do have to learn how to do it, but it's not unachievable.
Welcome to Workplus, the podcast that shines a light on the people doing good work across Northern Ireland. I'm your host, Richard Kirk, founder of Workplus. I've spent years working with employers, schools, colleges and universities, helping young people and career changers to make better informed career decisions. Each week, I sit down with real people doing real jobs to explore how they got there, what they've learned, and why their work matters. If you're a parent, teacher, carer, or just curious about what good work looks like today, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Mia, we're delighted that you've joined us today on the podcast. You're currently working in software. Tell us a bit about how all that came about for you.
I saw the apprenticeship, so I was at home. I had 2 kids at home, but my youngest was a year, and I was sort of ready to get back into work.
Yeah.
But I hadn't. My previous, I had been in university before, but I'd only. It had been interrupted due to family circumstances. And then I went and, my husband and I got married and we started a family and we moved up to the north. I'm originally from Cork.
Yeah.
And it was, I felt it was time. The kids were old enough. I felt it was time to get into work. But I couldn't go back to work. I couldn't go back to college full time. It just wasn't going to happen with family commitments. The commute alone is into Belfast is maybe 40, 50 minutes for me. It would be too much to do full time, have the kids in, care and all the rest. So I was sort of looking around for different options. I was at a wedding and a cousin mentioned that she knew someone who was recruiting women in particular, and they were going to train people from the ground up. This is for a US firm. So you could come in with absolutely no knowledge, which was really interesting for me. Ultimately, I didn't go for that. I didn't apply for that because I thought that it just wouldn't work out, that situation. But the other sort of thing that sort of sparked this for me was my sister. She did her undergrad in something completely different, microbiology, and then she had moved over to the States and she had a baby. And while her baby was at home and she was nursing her, she self-taught herself how to program, just on her own, whatever online courses she was doing. And a couple of years later, landed herself in a software programming job, having done no official qualifications.
Really?
So that was really inspirational for me, just like a witness that you can actually go and get yourself a job without, you put in a little bit of effort, but it's not completely unreachable while you have a family. And my husband was extremely encouraging to me, and he went and asked some of his family members who were in the industry, maybe some advice. I had the idea of an apprenticeship. I knew that some of the universities in tech offered part-time apprenticeships, and his family member came back to us with Workplus.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you should try this. We've just heard about this. So I did the application. I wasn't really sure whether, I would go for it, I would get it, but I was like, look, I'll just put it in anyway. And I got an interview as a result, and I got a job. And so I started this apprenticeship.
Yeah. Brilliant. And you mentioned about your sister was the self-taught programmer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is programming, software, what you're doing right now, is that something that you thought about whenever you were a teenager, that one day I'd love to do that, or did it just come in the last couple of years?
Whenever My brother, I have a brother as well. My eldest brother is a software programmer as well. He does some automation testing. But when I was a teenager, if I'm honest, it looked quite intimidating.
Yeah.
I saw his screen and all the code up on his screen. It didn't look, it looked like that was not for me. Like it was too smart for me. But we did, when I was in secondary school, we did a Lego robot competition where it sounds silly, like, but they brought in, you built this Lego robot, but they had this app where you would program the route. So you had these tiles you put into the program that he would turn right or turn left, and he had to make it around an obstacle course. So that was sort of my first kind of little taster of coding. And then, so it wasn't like completely foreign to me. And I was always sort of interested in maths, and, you know, I did applied maths for the Leaving Cert and all the rest. And that was sort of, I knew that was kind of my area. And I had actually, my undergrad that I had started was in engineering, but it wasn't really a very good fit for me. It didn't quite click. But yeah, through just a bit of research, and I was sort of playing around with a bit of code myself before when I was still at home. And I just really thought that I could make a go of this. Technology, I think, has gotten, it has become easier to program than it was back in my brother's day. You know, you had very basic languages, whereas now it has become easier and more accessible. And programming, like actually writing code, is not the only area you can go into in software. I mean, there's a whole host of, you know, different sort of areas you can branch into. So there's something for everyone, definitely.
Yeah. So when people think of software, they sometimes think it's just someone, maybe like your brother, with lines of code, multiple colors and symbols and things on their own on a laptop. But yeah, so tell us a bit more about what those roles look like then.
You have your software programmers who write the code and build it. You have software testers, which I would be a software tester. So that can be, you know, it ranges from maybe manually testing a new feature or product, or you could be, you know, just exploratory testing would just be like just going through the website or app and just seeing if it can work, and if it will work in all of these different edge cases. But also you would, there's a big push now for automated testing. So you do write the code or the program, but you're not building something, you're testing what, you're writing a code to automatically go through and test what the developer has built. That's more what I do.
Okay.
But you can also be, so there's also a DevOps role, which would be like how the software actually is up and running and gets onto your computer and all the rest. And other, you know, you could be a customer support, you could be design, you know, there's all sorts.
So they're not just all very technical, like design, for example. There's maybe some technical parts to it, but you need to have some level of creativity, I'm assuming, or an eye for detail and things. Yes,
there's a lot you can do within that.
Do you very much work on your own then? Tell us a bit about what a day in the life of Mia working at Teamworks looks like.
Yeah, so the position that is fully remote, but they do have an office in Belfast that we can use if we need it, which is really, really nice, because remote working is fantastic. I mean, it is a game changer. I think it's like the only good thing that has come out of COVID is the remote work, the shift to remote work. But like I couldn't work without it. Not with all the family commitments that I have. You know, even just to have the freedom to sort of have your own hours, and, you know, be able to do the school runs and be able to sort of manage, you know, kids and life. So I would say wake up in the morning and I might get an hour of work done in the morning. Then I'll get the kids out to school and get a bit more done, and, in the time before they come home from school, and then you put the dinner on, and hopefully by that stage I'm done, but I still can keep on working. My role, I do work on my own quite a bit, but I work actually with a lot of Americans. We've majority or quite a lot of American team. Teamworks is a US based company. So a lot of the meetings that I would have they don't happen until maybe like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the evening. So by that stage, people are home from work. It makes it easier just to manage kids and calls. And I mean, they're very good now with me going on a call. They know not to come in, but no, it's good. Like, it's manageable. It's not easy by any means. You're still, juggling everything, but it does make it possible.
Yeah. I love the way you just said that, even it makes it possible, because the alternative you were thinking about was, I'm a young mum and I'd like to get into this industry, but I might need to go. I can't go to college full time. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Yeah, but, absolutely. Yeah.
So how has this how has that apprenticeship model worked for you?
The apprenticeship allows you to basically earn your full degree part time. So I go into college, university, 1 day a week during term, and outside of term, you're not in at all. So you have a lot of like assignments that you do in your own time, but again, you don't have to actually go in. So that is like, that's brilliant. It's a brilliant model. I couldn't have done full-time education. It just wouldn't have been possible. With the 1 day a week, it's fairly manageable. And then with the actual workload, it is all remote. So again, you can sort of manage your own time better that way.
So you're living 45 minutes from Belfast, so you're able to work remotely, but then that 1 day you're coming up to Belfast, is that right?
And that's really nice, actually, because remote, it suits me really well. But it is nice to have that 1 day where you go and see people and you interact with people and you have a bit of social to balance it all out.
Yeah. What benefit has there been? So you're mostly working, right? So you're learning from people who are in your team, and then you're going to university 1 day a week. Is that 1 day at uni, was that helpful? Is that giving you knowledge and understanding that you can apply to your work? Or is it sometimes working the other way where you're able to go into class and say, actually, this is what I'm doing in my day job, even to the lecturer or to your classmates? How does that work?
I would say both. Your work helps you with your course and your course helps you with your work. The course, what you're learning it's all in the same field, but it might not always be directly relevant to what you're doing. What you're doing right now is probably something kind of specific because you're working on a specific project. But the course does give you quite a broad understanding of the whole, the wide range of things in the technology sphere, like anywhere from the way networks work to, the way that AI works, to the way that, if you want to study data, data analytics, but also to the way like you would set up your process. So like that particular module was quite relevant to maybe the tester side, because it was something that I had actually done before. So I felt like with that module, I already knew the module based on what I had been doing at work, but also what I do in the modules helps me understand like more broadly what is going on at work in all the different systems that it touches.
Yeah. You and your husband have a farm, isn't that right? So yeah, you're doing the admin on that as well. You mentioned.
Yeah, my husband, he's a farmer and a contractor as well. So he has me helping him out a bit with just the admin involved in that. So
busy days. So for you, then, are the majority of the apprentices in your class, or even in Teamworks, there are other apprentices, are they a similar stage of life to you, or are they a bit younger?
There's Bit of a mix. I would say probably the majority are school leavers. But there's definitely, older students in there as well. There definitely is. Who maybe have families or are working, or there's a mix. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And whenever, so we've got this project called Software for All, which is to showcase software as being a great career to go into, and particularly to encourage more females to consider that. Why is that something that's important to you then?
My perspective will be coming from a woman, but also a mother. I think women are faced with an impossible choice of having a career or having a family, and historically, it's very hard to have both of them. But it is absolutely possible. It's hard work, but it's absolutely possible. And I think apprenticeships really empower women who do maybe want a more flexible lifestyle. Also, the remote working along with the apprenticeship, it really does enable you to sort of have a more flexible lifestyle and to sort of accommodate the life that you want.
And what have been some of the things that you've been most proud of in your apprenticeship so far? Like what have you really enjoyed, whether it's breaking something and then saying, I found a way here that this bit of the product doesn't work, or maybe it's all perfect, it's tested.
No, it's not all perfect. But that's my job. My job is to find the imperfections. Well, recently there was a bug. So part of what I do at work, was whenever like a problem comes in from a customer support, pass it into engineering. But it's not always immediately clear what the problem is. It could be user error. It could be that we actually have a bug in the system. It could be there's a misconfiguration. So I have to go through and sort of like investigate. It's like do a mini investigation on like what's going on. So we had one of them that came in, and I there was a group of users that weren't getting a notification that they should have been getting. And I was going in one by one, and I found a plausible answer for maybe 90% of the users. But there were some users that it still didn't make sense for. The reason why this might be happening. So I had to dig further, and I found out whenever we were looking in the logs, I found out that it was a bug in the way that we were handling, how users were being added or whatever. So, I thought I had almost had the answer, but then I had to sort of keep digging, and that sort of persistence, getting to the bottom of it, is what I really love about the work. And at the end of it, I don't have to fix it. I pass it on to the other guys and they fix it.
So you're like an investigator trying to find the source of the problem.
Yeah.
So for other women, maybe even young girls at school, even thinking about your own children and what the future might hold for them, what are the messages that we should be sharing with people who aren't yet in the software industry that might want to get involved?
Don't be intimidated by it. It's easy to be intimidated whenever your image of a programmer is, in a dark room with lines of code in front. But, if you have a bit of an analytical way of thinking, it's really not, you do have to learn how to do it, but it's not unachievable. And there's different areas you can go within software. So absolutely, it's a really good one to be in. And I love the software industry, I think in particular, has a good emphasis on remote working, which is something I really love about it. So
that's good. So you are a living testament to why apprenticeships are good news for people and for businesses like Teamworks. We want to have more employers thinking about that. Like, what would your message be to employers in software or even outside of software that haven't quite caught the vision for apprenticeships just yet?
I think with apprenticeships, you are opening yourself up to people who might never be in the workforce. So whenever you, especially software is such a changing field. Everything changes so quickly. You could have people maybe who have other careers and who want to upskill into software. And it's very, very hard, to be honest, for those people to pursue a career change whenever they maybe have a mortgage to pay for, they have all their groceries to pay for. They can't just give up work and start into full-time education again. So apprenticeships open the door to those kind of people, I think. But even for younger people, younger school leavers, apprenticeships are a fantastic way to teach, school leavers from the get-go to really apply themselves and really learn. Whenever you're doing a degree, that is just a degree, that is just, you're just doing your modules full-time. You're not working on the side. You're not really building on your knowledge as you go. You're only, you're learning the theory, but you're not putting it into practice. And by the end of that degree, those students who come out of it, they have all the knowledge, but without having put it into practice, they're at a disadvantage there. Whenever you are able to take someone from nothing and bring them up through and mold them into what the kind of employee that you want them to be, I think that's probably invaluable.
Brilliant. And you talked about the different aspects of software. I don't want to ask where do you see yourself in 10 years type thing, but do you just love testing and QA and you're going to keep doing that? Or do you think there are other aspects of software that you want to explore?
I do love QA, I have to say. I love the sort of analytical thinking. I just want to really sort of expand my knowledge base. There's quite a lot in QA that I don't know yet. So I'm hoping to sort of do a couple of different qualifications in it and keep learning and expand my automation knowledge as well.
Well, just finally, last question is, what's so great about work for you?
I think we have just actually a really good team. I think the teamworks they've got a great way of working. They've got great companionship. It can be quite hard whenever you are a remote company to find the time to really connect with the people you're working with. But already we've had a couple of different get-togethers since, and it's really great. Like, there's really good people, but it's also not. We have a Belfast branch here that it's big enough, it's growing, but there's a huge America base as well. So it's lovely to get to know them, and get to know all the different sort of software that we have over on that side and the people working there. It really expands the amount of people you do get to know.
Well, Mia, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to hear about all that you've been up to, and I wish you every success for your career.
That's great. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Workplus. If today's story gave you fresh perspective or helped you rethink what's possible, leave us a review on your favourite podcast platform or hit like and subscribe. It really does make a big difference. For more stories, resources, and tools to help guide the next generation, visit workplus.app. Until next time.